Today I'm going to be talking about the 3 things you absolutely have to teach your kids to prepare them for the uncertain future. And I'm not talking about geopolitics, I'm talking about a world in which technology, specifically how the unpredictability of artificial intelligence is going to change everything. And nothing better illustrates this point than this interview where Mark Cuban is interviewing somebody about these ramifications. Take a look at 20 seconds from this clip and you'll see what I'm talking about.
The amount of change we're going to see over the next 5 years, 10 years, will dwarf everything that's happened over the last 30.
So, through this innovation.
Yeah.
So essentially what you make the case for is education and job training for grown-ups.
No, I think that won't matter, right? What are you going to go back and learn to do?
What it takes, right? I mean, whether it's finance, whether it's software programming.
Finance, that's the easiest thing. You just take the data and have it spit out whatever you need.
It's fascinating to me how Mark spends the preceding 10 minutes of that interview explaining to this guy how people are going to be put out of job, and the guy still doesn't get it. And he lists an example of a skill, finance, that is literally one of the examples that Mark Cuban is saying is going to be gone when it comes to artificial intelligence and all the changes that are going to be brought forth. Let me give you another specific real-world example. I still hear every day, well, my kid wants to be a doctor, we will always need doctors. Are you sure? To put that line of thinking into perspective, a hospital where I used to work, whenever a patient was coming in showing that they were having a significant stroke, we would use an artificial intelligence program called Viz AI. This machine learning program would read the CT scan of the patient having a stroke. It would then make a decision to see if this person would benefit from a neurointerventionalist. Based on that decision from the program alone, I would make a phone call that would launch a helicopter, come and get the patient, and take them to a hospital where there was a neurointerventionalist. That whole process happened without a human radiologist ever taking a look at the CT scan. Artificial intelligence is coming for everyone's jobs. So what are you really supposed to teach your kids when you don't know what's coming? I truly believe it's not what you really teach them, but that you raise them with the knowledge to not become beholden to anyone or anything. These 3 things to teach your kids are about mitigating the risk of the uncertain future. The first thing you absolutely have to teach your kids is how to not become ultimately beholden to the financial industry. If you don't owe anybody anything, then nobody can tell you what to do. That's the ultimate freedom. My wife and I were talking about the other day how kids go off to colleges these days, and upperclassmen who have been co-opted by the credit card industries are preying on the freshmen as soon as they walk onto campus, trying to get them to sign up for a credit card. They'll give them some kind of crappy t-shirt or hat, and that's where it all starts. Okay, I get it. So what about the entire my child needs to build a credit history argument? Well, for one, I'm not entirely sure that argument wasn't started by the credit card industry. And for 2, did you know that once your child turns 16, you can put them on your credit card and they will start building credit based off your credit. So if you have good credit, they will essentially automatically get good credit on their own, all while just being a part of your credit card. They don't even have to make any purchases. And I think in these times, with credit card debt becoming such a burden on American families, we all have to be significantly more open about the finances within our family so your kids can understand. And I really believe the best way to do that is to read the book, The Psychology of Money. I read this about a year ago and it really changed my perspective on money. And I'll share with you a couple of the many things I learned from the book. Did you know the only reason Warren Buffett is super rich is because he is super old? He amassed over 99% of his wealth after he turned the age of 50 due to the properties of compounding interest. Now, this book isn't about buying and selling stocks, but it illustrates really how to understand good versus bad financial decisions. Another one of the interesting concepts is it talks about how, for example, if you were to see somebody driving a really nice fancy car, naturally you look at that car and go, man, I would be cool if I was driving that car. You don't think to yourself how cool the person driving that car is. You think how cool you would be in the car. When you see a nice house, you think how good your life would be in that nice house. You don't think about the people. It really changes how you view what you want to spend your money on. Trust me, the book is far more eloquent in explaining these concepts. If you've never heard of the book or think you might be interested in reading it, I'll leave a link in the description below. If your kids are in high school, they absolutely should read this book. It really will help teach them how to navigate a financial system without becoming a slave to it. So lesson number 1, avoid debt. The next industry to not be beholden to, and as much as it really pains me to say this as a board certified physician, is the healthcare industry. Take a look at these articles from a quick search on the internet. Healthcare debt is consuming America, and in some ways this goes back to the first topic. We have to do everything we can to avoid debt. And while avoiding common financial debt requires good financial decisions, avoiding healthcare debt also requires good healthcare decisions. And this one might be a tough one because you might find yourself maybe not in the state of health that you're particularly proud of, and maybe it's embarrassing to bring up with your kids, but you have to. You absolutely have to. To do this, as silly as it sounds, and the earlier you do this, the better, is to have your kids avoid all processed food and as much sugar as possible. I know it sounds overly simplistic in the scale of the conversation that we're having, but hear me out. The amount of time you spend talking to your kids about the avoidance of drugs, you have to spend more time talking to them about healthy habits and a healthy lifestyle. If you can keep your kids healthy, it will keep them from becoming beholden to another industry that on the surface has their best interest at heart, the healthcare industry. But it comes with such a financial cost. I have a 13 and a 9-year-old, and they have never tasted soda. I'm really not trying to virtue signal here, and I give 100% credit to my wife for having the foresight to do that. Soda, even though it is dangerous in and of itself, it is truly a gateway to far more dangerous eating habits. Getting your kids off of sugar and processed foods once they're already on it is extremely difficult. That's why it's considerably easier to avoid them altogether when they're young, versus break them from these habits when they're older. Every day when I'm in the healthcare setting, I see people coming in suffering from their diseases of prosperity: type 2 diabetes, coronary artery disease, chronic obesity, chronic pain. And the root cause to all of this almost always trickles down to poor lifestyle choices and poor eating habits. If you can keep your kids healthy, it is yet another industry they will not be beholden to, and another way they can be completely free. The third thing you have to teach your kids in this world is that it is all fake. Hear me out. Did you know there are fake private planes in certain parts of the country that just sit on the ground and do nothing? They never take off, they don't even fly. But they rent themselves out to social media influencers who will go on, make videos, take selfies of themselves on these planes to make it look like to all their followers how baller a life they are leading. Another example is other influencers will go to a store, buy ridiculously expensive clothes that they can't afford, take them home, take selfies with them, take videos with them, and then take the clothes back. The point to these true stories is the third thing that your kids have to avoid is social media. And I get it, if they're in high school, they're probably way too addicted at this point, so you have to help them consume it appropriately. Even though the data are abundantly clear about how harmful social media is, especially to young girls, parents all over the country are very much complicit in letting their kids just navigate it alone. I'm pretty sure it was Theodore Roosevelt who was credited for saying, "Comparison is the thief of joy." And I really believe that's why a lot of kids are walking around depressed, is because they're comparing themselves to an ideal that doesn't exist. They see people they are following flying around in planes, wearing flashy clothes, but it's fake. It's all fake, and they need to know this. They need to know that the life they are leading right now is normal. What they see on social media is fake. So if you can keep them off of social media, great. If they're already on it, tell them it's not real. I can't tell you how many times I would see a patient walk into the hospital wearing incredibly nice clothes, Rolex, gold rings, gold watches, gold everything. But when I look at their medication list, I see that they're on multiple antidepressants. And I instantly realize they're not rich. They're just keeping up with everybody else. And if you're trying to keep up with everything that you see and it's fake and doesn't exist, you never get there. And that's what drives the depression. That's what drives the anxiety. Keep your kids off of it, or at least consume it together so you can point out the hypocrisy. So is this the ultimate guidebook to parenting? No. But will do these three things help you prepare your kids for an uncertain future? Yes. Avoid debt, avoid bad foods, and avoid social media if you can, or find a way to consume it wisely. Parenting is hard, everybody. Doing it the right way is even tougher. Stay strong, and I'll see you next time.